This is Fred Beck from Fred Talks Fighting. I'm joined by Kalle after the press conference. Normally your table's flipped over.
With Fred Beck.
Normally your table's flipped over. Normally it's very, very stressful. Normally I see you like going, oh, blimey, this is a tough one. It was very nice and relaxed today.
Wow, I mean, I've had more relaxed ones. I've had, not Misfits ones.
By Misfit standards, yeah.
Misfit standards, it was respectful. There was there's quite a few of the fights. There's some serious beef between them, but no bottles, no pizzas, no wet fish, dead fish, no tables, no. I don't know what else has been thrown at me, but yeah, quite a few other things that have gone over my cake. No throwing of anything. We're getting more also on top of the naughtiness. Those prime bottles on the stage are not full.
Whose decision was that to make them empty?
Mine. Yeah. No, that was something that we did after a couple of. It was just too much, It was. Don't forget, a closed bottle is rather heavy, and they were just getting pinged around. You can thank Dean the Great and Walid Sharks for that. They certainly had their moments of promoting prime Misfit shows, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I never really thought of that. When people are throwing prime bottles, it is good promotion. It's great having it up here, but when you're busy throwing it and using it in a fight.
I don't think that a multi-billion-dollar company like Prime is interested in people throwing their bottles around. No, I guess at the beginning that might help a brand, but I think their brand strategy.
Now it's very established.
Their brand strategy wasn't to get Dean the Great and Walid Sharks to throw bottles, but I quite like the idea.
Yeah.
Maybe me and you should come up with a brand and see if Dean and Walid would throw it around for us. Let's think about that one.
That's a really good promotion, actually, promotional-wise. This card, though, people obviously it's more of a quarter card, but then obviously next month is such a big one. It's a builder card, which I really like. You can't compare it, you're right. It's a pay-per-view card and it's a fight night card.
I like that, because people must remember that, like any other sport, like WWE, like normal boxing, like UFC, there's pay-per-views, which, yes, people, you have to pay for. And then there's what we call the base events, that's an internal expression, which are normal events. I mean, but we've had... This is number 9. We've had 3 pay-per-views, so we've had 6 and 3. We've had 3 pay-per-views so far and 6, let's call them normal nights. But thinking about some of the entertainment we've had of those normal nights, so I'm delighted. And by the way, occasionally you'll also get a flat one. There's nothing you can do about it, or else it'll be fake. If it was scripted, if it was WWE style, in boxing, traditional boxing or crossover boxing, you don't know what you're going to get. Some of the best fights, Canelo Golovkin last year, it was a letdown. And that's sport, but the cards. This card is, again, 9 fights. Keep trying to get those amount of fights a bit down, but Mams is very, very persistent on that. He's always he'll tell me it's 8 and then sneak one in.
Maybe it's kind of PTSD from the Nashville one where there were less fights and lots of pullouts last minute. Luckily for this one, there haven't been too many pullouts.
You were there. I wouldn't say that I went home unentertained.
Oh no, not at all. It was a good fight, but
sometimes it's also, must forget. Sometimes it's also, yes, a long night's fun, but also sometimes to have it a bit, in 3 hours instead of 5 hours, can also be great. And by the way, again, in boxing, you don't know. Some fights go a round, sometimes go 4 rounds. Some, traditional boxing, some go 12 rounds. It's difficult to plan in boxing. Yeah? But yeah, I mean, it's a banger of a card again. I always get excited for the cards, not when I see them on paper, because after names I've got to work out what they are and who they are. I get excited at the press conferences because then I really start feeling the magic of this space, and I was very entertained up there today.
But do you not think, from Mam's perspective, it's smart to have a lot of fights on these kind of builder cards or fight night cards to kind of build stars? And on the pay-per-view cards, it's all huge stars. But on the fight night cards, it's about building people higher up to put on the pay-per-view cards. So for this, we should have as many fights as possible to create as many stars as possible.
Agree, but
that's a good point.
It's a very good point. It's a very good point. Can I invite you into my office and let me be? I'm the boring guy here. You know, Mams talks about boxers and this and that. I'm here to talk about. I can talk about money, right? And I have to make this business work.
Yeah.
Right? So that means we can't have 100 fights on every card, right? So when you see a card and you think, oh, I want 10 more fights, I'm the boo guy. I'm the guy that says no, right? That's the money. That's what we have to spend, and that's what we're going to do. We have to run it like a business, or else we'll be out of business like other businesses in this space.
Like every other influencer boxing business ever gone.
Yeah. So, and you know, we're a profitable business. We're not as profitable as we could be because we invest. So there's fights you see already would normally never happen. You wouldn't do that many fights because you get more profit. We're not doing that. We're reinvesting in it already to bring in new names. We also see that. But at the same time, we have to make sure for this space, or else, you know, soon you'll be reporting just on traditional boxing.
Oh, no. So, need to make sure you stay on your job.
Exactly. So I have to,
So how many fights would you, in your opinion, think is great for a card like this? 6, 8?
I'm a fan of 6 to 8. It depends. You can have more fights on the money if you've got less, let's say, bigger names or names that we've seen before. So it really depends on what you're going for. I think the mix here is great. And then you see, you know, other shows where, you know, look at obviously the big one in Manchester, you know, but then you're talking about multi-million-dollar cards, yeah? But they're also an event that's going to be taking in more revenue than any other combat sports event this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly, that's very, very true. It's good to come to Kalle, actually. It's interesting. I was interviewing Mams. Mams like, yes, do this. Mams is fun to interview. When you talk to you keep handing the Pacific saying, no, Fred, we can't do that because of X reason. Let's talk about this then. You guys seem to put all your poker chips all in on this Prime card, but then you predict it's going to do so well. Are you presuming it will do over 1.2 million pay-per-view buys or around that mark, you thinking?
I think, you know, if we crack the million, which we expect it to be around that, if not higher, you know, around that. The interest is so big that it's difficult to gauge, though. It's so many, you know, it's the US market, it's this market, but I don't want to get too boring here, you know, making myself out to be like the maths professor here. No, I think it's not all about chips in. We're calculated. Listen, I've been involved with boxing for so many decades that I've seen shows go well or not, but all I'm saying is in this space my job is to make sure that Misfits is around for a hell of a long time and it's flying, but I don't ever get carried away. You'll never see me get arrogant off my high horse, no, because I've seen it all before without sounding really boring. But I also know when I see other people come into boxing and in this space, I'm like, and sometimes Mams and me will say, Mams like, what's that? And I'm like, mate, just watch them crash and burn. And it's like, and he's like, no, but this.
I love that for Kalle. Just watch them crumble.
But it's an argument. I also have it often in traditional boxing with my brother, who's
Nissa. Shout out Nissa, Sarland.
Big shout out Nissa, my brother, and was actually my physical brother, same mother. Mams is brother from another mother. But my job's the same there. It's to say, no, can we not sign 20 new kids now? Because it's not going to work. We have to operate as a business. It's boxing and crossover boxing. It's the same in terms of you don't get government funding. You don't have, you know, this, that, and the other.
Well, did the boxing gyms actually get government funding in the first place anyway? Amateur boxing clubs? Because so many closed down nowadays as well.
There was a recent survey a couple of years ago, and boxing was like not even the top 100. Right?
I think you'd horse riding was up there, and that's meant to be like a very wealthy sport.
We sponsored gyms in London over the years. We sponsored gyms in Germany, loads of different countries, and Denmark as well. Even in countries where there's a heavy investment in sport, boxing is not one of them, and it's sad, but it's also this space is something where we're going to look at also putting money into gyms, into infrastructure, into getting kids. You know, even though we're going to do it as a pro, it's a great sport. Go put a pair of gloves on. You know, it's It's a great way to keep fit. And by the way, you see people like Swarms, Hallowham. Look at their body.
Salt Pappy now as well.
Yeah, sorry, Salt. I mean, look at the body transformations are insane. But you see, hey, they're actually earning a good living out of this, yeah. So they can stay in it. And guess what? If they stay in it, they actually start getting really fit and start really looking the part. Go look at Swarms' first fight. Look at Salt Pappy's first fight. Look at Halal's first fight. Missing out a few other ones here. And that's what boxing can do for you.
Certainly, it's why it's such a good sport. Before I go, let's run over a couple of things. Events this year. I just interviewed Mams, and he says he can't be 100% sure, but he reckons there'll be one more event.
You and Mam sometimes are the bane of my life, yeah, because you do these interviews and then suddenly.
Do you watch the interviews?
I don't need to. I don't need to, because on the comments, I just have to. I like looking at reaction.
What you mean on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm mainly on Twitter.
You don't follow me on Twitter, Kalle?
Don't I? I'll do it straight after this. We'll do that. You know, when you two do an interview, I'm like, I get calls from from DAZN and from everyone saying, "You doing a show there, and then there's this one on that one." It's like you make the cards on your show. So actually, watch this show more often, because I'm going to start watching the show more often. Don't watch much. I just look, like I said, on reactions, and I suddenly get like, I'm like, what is this? And then I call Mams, and then Mams very coy. No, it was an interview, and we were discussing it, and
So I'm popular at DAZN, or does Fred get slandered in the group chat? Like,
no. You know I like it. No, not having that. That's naughty Mams. It's his way of.
Okay.
I know, but me and Mams have a fantastic relationship. We laugh as well sometimes, because he'll look at me and he'll see me thinking, right, I've got one over on him, and he'll look at me and he goes, "You think you've got me on that one?" We got a very playful relationship like that. It's good fun. And by the way, it's the only way it could work, or else I wouldn't bother doing it, because it works.
So taking it all the way back to my original question, how many events are we expecting off the Prime card? So Prime card October 14th, so 009, 010, and then
certainly one more. Probably late November-ish, mid-late November-ish. That'll be decided probably in the next 7 days. We'll know that.
Okay, perfect. I'll make sure to message you then.
See, I just knew you'd like literally.
And I'll message you on the day as well.
What I say with you, Fred. But yeah, you'll be the first to know. But then it, whether we roll with January or another one in December, I'm not sure yet. We have to look at that. It's without boring you too much. It's also about like getting the right venue, the right thing for it. I'd love to do one of the base events, like one of the regular events in York Hall, for example.
I looked up. York Hall's got a capacity of 1.2 thousand people, so that could be a great show, couldn't it?
You can actually get. I think there's a couple more you can get in there. But it's for me, it's about how it's such a traditional boxing place, so that would create a bit of a ripple. But at the same time, I'd love to try and wrap that venue as a Misfits like auditorium.
Little kind of home base almost, the home ground. Like how Liverpool have Anfield is.
But I've seen so many shows over the years from York Hall, and done, I don't know, dozens of shows there. But at the same time, it always looks the same. And I love with Misfits to try and make it look a bit different, because it's one of the homes of British boxing, isn't it? It's probably the most synonymous you have with arenas around British boxing.
So do you think York Hall next year, do you reckon? Doing media in York Hall was a nightmare, but I would like to go back there.
It's a nightmare.
Just because it's so small.
It's a really tricky one, but it is a cool, iconic boxing venue.
Ibiza next year. Obviously, you guys kind of miss it. Mams and Kalle were like, "Oh yeah, Ibiza this year.
Yeah.
We were going to go." And then I talked to Kalle, and he says,
"Oh, for Manchester." So
you swap Ibiza for Manchester.
Ibiza. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll cancel October 14th. Right. We'll leave that out. We'll leave.
It's not that big of a card anyway.
To go to Ibiza. We'll do the prelims in Ibiza, and that's all right. So blame it on Fred.
But next year, do you reckon?
Yeah, it would have been this year. We had a very cool venue set. We were going to Ibiza, and then on that it would have been next week. I think it was the 30th of September, and once we decided, by the way, October 14th was decided back in March, because that was around what we made our negotiations with Tommy Fury. So we had to get a date.
You started negotiations back in March for Tommy.
For initial discussions, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Initial discussions. I think I went up to Morecambe with Nissa, who knows the Furies very well as well, and we went up there. I think up in March, had a cup of tea with him.
So it's like that's March was when Telford was happening. 006 or something like that. The Jay Swingler versus Nicola Mayo.
You put me on a spot here now. Was it March or April? It was definitely before.
It was around by that time.
My birthday's April 14. Remember that? Well, actually, you remember that. And it was a couple of weeks before my birthday. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's interesting. How far away it was?
March, yeah. It was certainly well before, obviously the Fournier fight, because Tommy turned up at the Fournier fight, and actually the deal hadn't been totally wrapped up by then. It was a long old discussion, but it wasn't as difficult as people make out. People say about the Furies. John, me, and this, we got a good chat and put it into making it work.
Do you think John Fury will fight on Misfits Boxing?
He hasn't asked me yet. He's a difficult man to turn down, isn't he?
Is that he's pay-per-view, surely?
Really put me on the spot here, aren't you? I mean, I'd pay to watch Big John, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would.
I'm pretty sure my son would as well. He's
your son kind of a bit afraid of him almost, or?
No, but he's got that cult following. My son's my older son's 23, the other one's 15. The 15-year-old Nick, he.
I mean, he's a really nice kid. I met him in Nashville. He's a good kid.
But they have a real everything around John Fury. It's like it goes viral with the kids. Well before what happened in London.
It's all over TikTok and stuff like that for the younger generation.
It's like when he flips out. So they find that. They find that all very interesting. So
do you reckon you'll send him an email in a few years' time?
While I'm rabbiting on to you, I'm actually trying to think of a feasible opponent. I mean, they were talking about Mike Tyson, weren't they? Round the Tyson versus Ngannou fight. Recently.
Okay.
Last week I saw that. I mean, that would be interesting. Who else? Big John.
Shannon Briggs. He might be a bit too good.
Schwarzenegger.
Arnold's he's too old now. He's 75 or something.
Trains like a beast, doesn't he? But I'm making them up as I go along here. But there's some interesting fights for Big John. I'll have to talk to him.
All right.
But he hasn't asked me yet. You're
not going to ask him?
I'll leave that for him to put in a call. We talk quite regularly, so I'm sure.
Okay, well I can tell you guys are waiting here, so we'll wrap this up. Everyone's getting the taxi home. So Kalle, good to catch up with you. I'm sure I'll see you tomorrow.
We will see each other tomorrow, and I look forward to continuing this conversation only here on Fred Beck's channel.
Fred Talks Fighting, Kalle.
Fred Talks Fighting. I quite like that. Fred Talks Fighting. I didn't know that.
What do you mean you didn't know that?
No, I thought it was the Fred Beck show. That sounds. I've got to be honest. I like Fred Talks Fighting, but I think the Fred Beck show's got a ring to it.
Yeah.
No, really, do you not think that? Do you never fall back?
It's called alliteration. Fred Talks Fighting.
Yeah, but I like the Fred Beck show. So sorry, I'm going to go with the Fred Beck show. No, that's cool. That sounds like proper. I don't know. It's got something to it, like Larry King, like the Fred Beck show.
Larry King, he's good into it.
Oh, fantastic. One of my favourites. But the Fred Beck show, sorry, it sounds like something I'd see in Vegas. Like it. Have a think about that.
Misfits Vegas.
I was going to say watch this space, but we'll see.
We'll see. Awesome. Thank you, Kalle. That's great.
2024, baby.